Hey everybody, Stu Smith here going live. Hope you are doing well this Monday morning. We have just gotten it done ourselves, and this is one of our weeks that I tend to enjoy throughout any cycle that we're doing. It's week 4, means that's our block periodization week where we just shift it up just a little bit. So we've been on this 3-week run cycle, calisthenics progression for the first 3 weeks. And this week's a little bit of a deload from the volume of calisthenics as well as the mileage of running. So today was a fun lift day, and it just breaks up the monotony of high mileage and high reps. And I have found it to be very useful for that fourth week, helping with prevention of injuries that tend to occur during steep running progressions, but also helped you maintain some of that mass that is maybe hard gained from the prior winter lift cycle. So that's what we did today. A lot of fun. Big leg day, deadlifts, squats, lunges, good stuff. Um, we still probably ran, I think, 2.5, 3 miles, but normally we would do a hill, which is a good 6.5, 7 miles, plus lunges and squats and fireman carries and all that. So it's definitely a different leg day workout compared to what we've been doing the last 3 weeks, which is fun. It was a good time. I think everybody got fired up, pumped, and it was good. But I want to share with something. Writing this article today. I'm sending it to military.com, and it's a article about a study that one of my buddies who is a PhD nutritionist in the Army, Nick Barringer. I did 2 podcasts with him recently. You guys can check out the Tactical Fitness Report. We did one on the mastery of recovery is longevity, and the other one was the mastery of recovery is optimal performance. So using nutrition as a major function of your ability to not only recover from yesterday's activities, but to fuel yourself for tomorrow's. And there was a study that was done during a recent special ops or Army Special Forces assessment and selection. And they just measured their blood, and you could tell what metabolites, which basically is just a word for when you're metabolizing food, what chemicals you're putting off, and also when you're doing hard calisthenics and load bearing and staying up all night, there's also stress that is being produced, and that also produces certain metabolites. So, anyway, and hormones, and there's a whole big scale of things that they measured, and it was really neat. I mean, here's a quote from the study. It says successful candidates selected during SFAS had higher pre-SFAS levels of circulating metabolites that allowed the candidates to be more resistant to oxidative stress, higher physical performance, and they had higher diet quality. In contrast, non-selected candidates had higher levels of metabolites, potentially indicating elevated oxidative stress, which just basically just means you are physically done and hormonally done as well. Um, and they attributed that to the amount of food that they were eating, not only um, during the process of SFAS, but before as well. And they, looking at really 3 things: the food that you ate, the training that you did, and your ability to recover quickly. And all of that was measured with just blood work. And basically the at the end of the study they said you need to eat well, you need to sleep well, and you need to work out hard, but not too hard to where you injure yourself. So it's it's nice to see the science behind that common sense training recommendation and like what particular chemicals are being elevated to help you resist that type of stress and what chemicals are being elevated to produce that type of stress that causes failure. So anyway, it was kind of a neat study that I read, but I broke it down, and it came down to when you're going through that type of training, you definitely want to eat high protein foods, also high fat foods, because that's a burns a little longer, keeps you warm, especially if you're going through a hell week and you're cold. Um, you definitely want to eat proteins and fats, but you also want to eat fruits and vegetables that are high in antioxidants because vitamin C, vitamin E, beta carotene, leucine, lycopene, all of those are very helpful with you breaking down the stress that is being created. So you can actually metabolize some of those stress hormones by what you eat. So consider that whenever you are um, working out hard and just need a balanced diet. So those folks that don't eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, missing out on some antioxidants that are very helpful with you recovering and being able to reduce oxidative stress, aids in brain function, and also reduces inflammation, which is really a killer in those types of training environments. So anyway, that's what I'm working on today. Looking forward to having that done. I'll probably put in our podcast on optimal performance. In fact, if you go to the um, Tactical Fitness Report podcast page, you can find it on YouTube, but it's right here. I think I need to update a few of these because I'm missing a couple of them. But anyway, if you scroll down here, it looks like podcast 219 is in fact, I'll just share it right here. Podcast 219 is Lieutenant Colonel Behringer and myself talking about optimal performance and nutrition. All right. Let's see. What do we have? Tom here says, Happy Monday. Best Ranger competition was this weekend. Did any of your guys ever get involved with Best Ranger comp? Um, I think we've had one do that over the years, and only one. I haven't had many people go Ranger and do that one, but I think we had a guy come in like he and his buddy came in second or fourth. I can't remember. I remember thinking they were in the top four, but then there's always a pair. So I can't remember if he was top four by being one and two or in the top four teams, but it was about 10 years ago. So, but it's happened. Let's see. Hard gainer here. Seem to only put weight on when I eat everything. That's the way it works, especially junk food. Ooh. If I eat clean, I maintain a current weight but never gain mass. If I eat junk, I gain but not lean. Yeah, you definitely want to eat better. My advice is eat really well and then top off your calories with some kind of additional shake, protein shake. And I personally, if you want to add 600 calories to your day and it not be horrible, just a scoop of peanut butter after every meal. That is an extra 200 calories per tablespoon, and it was probably one of the key factors why I wasn't losing weight one year. And when I did my little food diary for the week, I was like, aha, that's it. That's I couldn't believe it. It was like 500 calories a day that I was adding to my diet. And once I took out that spoonful, I was losing weight steadily. So I was maintaining with that. Had a really low calorie diet, but that spoonful was putting me over the top to where I wasn't gaining weight, but I wasn't losing weight. So it just had to go a little bit lower. So Yeah, for you want to try to maintain weight or even put on weight, you gotta eat your normal clean meals, maybe double the portion size, especially of the proteins and fats. Your fruits and vegetables, you still need to eat them, but they take up a lot of space. So it's hard to double up and triple up on those and have any room in your stomach. So protein and fats are a little more dense calories. So eat good of those, second helping of those, and then top it off with that shake. You don't have to do it every meal, but at least once a meal. Um, protein powder, milk, milkshake. Throw ice cream in there if you want. That's not horrible. Um, yeah, milkshakes are good. Peanut butter sandwiches. I should do like peanut butter and banana sandwiches at the end of the day just for extra calories. But yeah, if you want to be big, you got to eat big, but you got to eat clean too. Looking to come on your Heroes of Tomorrow workouts. Are they free to attend? Yes. If you want to serve, they're not free or even available to those who just want free workouts. If you are preparing to serve for military, law enforcement, firefighter jobs, you can come join us. If you go to the website, heroesoftomorrow.org, you will find that information about when we train and where we train. Uh, I mean, 6'2", 210 is pretty good if you can get up there, but 6'2", 198, that's pretty lean. I would say my son is like that 6'3", 200, 205. He's trying to put on 5 10 more pounds. So, I mean, that's not small either. I mean, if you're preparing for buds and stuff, you probably don't want to get too much over 200 pounds just because of all the running that you're going to do, and obstacle courses get really hard on your grip if you're really heavy. Um, so I was 6 foot 195 when I went through. Um, so there you go. Let's see. What do you consider to be optimal body fat percentage for someone going through selection? Good question. I don't think being super lean is the answer, right? You don't want to be at like 5%, 6%. In fact, I would probably avoid single digits. And if you could be 10 to 12, that's probably the lowest you want to go. And the main reason for that is one, it's cold and you want to stay warm, but also, um, everybody comes into this with some strength and weakness. And I have seen super lean guys have a really hard time treading and doing the float and drown proofing. But I've also seen uh, I shouldn't say super fat guys, but guys that are over 15% body fat have a hard time bobbing whenever they're doing, or even have a hard time holding themselves underwater when they're doing underwater knot tying or anything like that. They have a great time floating and treading, but they have a hard time bobbing, which is significant because you got to do bobs, you got to do front flips, you got to get to the bottom to pick up your mask with your teeth. So there's some issues there depending on your body fat percentage. So you want to try to be somewhat neutral versus overly positive or negative. Working on increasing mileage per week. I know your bones can only handle 10% more than the week before. Eh, that's not necessarily true. Statistically speaking, 10 to 15% is the logical progression for a non running athlete and heavier than average running athlete. So, for instance, for me, being 6 feet 195, I had to progress logically because the running athlete buddy that I ran with, who was 6 feet 160, had a lot easier impact forces on those legs than I did. So I couldn't run his progression that he was doing. I had to pull back and be smart. And every time that I didn't, and I was like, I'll just run with you, whatever you're doing. And that 8 mile run when I should have only done 4, I paid for it in some tendonitis or shin splint or something like that. So, how many miles a week can I increase a week? What foods should I eat to help recover? I think we just mentioned that, and you should watch the that video I just put up there, that YouTube video, Optimal Performance Nutrition. Watch that. That's going to answer all your questions on what foods you should eat to help recover. Um, and your miles depends on what you're doing now. So let's say you're running 10 miles a week, 10 to 15% of that the next week is a mile to a mile and a half. Just do the math. That's how you progress. Now, you don't want to jump in the 10 miles a week out of nothing or 20 miles a week out of nothing. You know, if you're doing 0, I would say your max first week should be 5, mile a day, 5 days a week. And that's it. But you can do a lot more cardio to balance that out. It's only going to be 7, 8 minutes worth of running. So you definitely are going to want to swim. You're going to want to bike or do some other style of non-impact cardio to help you build an aerobic base without the impact pains of building an aerobic base purely on running, especially if you're a non-running, bigger than average runner size. That's where the 10% comes in very important. How do you advise spending your weekends at Buds? I would advise, typically we used to do this. Saturday mornings, we'd grab, your boat crew, and it is voluntary. Said, hey, we're going to go practice some drown proofing. This was like the first few weeks. We're going to go practice some drown proofing. Whatever test that was coming up that next week, we would practice it on Saturday at the base pool. And we practice drown proofing. We practice, underwater knot tying. We'd practice whatever we knew was coming up that week. And just helped out each other, gave tips, worked with the boat crew. It was awesome. I mean, spent an hour doing it. And then we'd stretch. Didn't have foam rollers back then, but if I had a foam roller back then, I'd definitely be foam rolling and massage tooling. But we just stretched and just kind of stretched in a circle, talked about things, see if anybody was having any issues. Then we go eat a big breakfast. That was fun. Then we just chill out and relax. I didn't do a whole lot of anything during the weekends. Definitely didn't go to the ocean and swim. That was something that did not appeal to me at that time. And when my girlfriend would come visit, she'd always want to go to the beach, and I'd be like, "Oh, that's not the place I want to be." But anyway, yeah, that's what you did. And then Sunday we'd go eat a big brunch. Usually somewhere on base there was a big brunch, breakfast, lunch type of thing that was all you can eat for, like, back then it was like $15 or something, and we would just eat so much that we would just sleep for 2 hours and stretch a little bit more later on in the day and get ready for Monday. It was good times. Go eat a burrito at night, big old Mexican food. Oh man, it's good stuff. Lots of calories. Do you have any swim workouts that account for swimming with fins for a Buds candidate? Absolutely. Sure do. Got whole books worth of them. I mean, read that. Get through selection. Prep for specific events like swimming with fins. Come on, man. What rock you living under? That's all I do. Prepare people for specific events of their training, whatever that training is. Yeah, I mean, swimming with fins is pretty simple. You need to swim with fins. 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, build up to all of that, over time. It's almost like running progression. You don't want to jump into a 4,000 yard swim. because you'll be doing those every week. Usually, what we do is we do leg day swims with fins. So, 2, sometimes 3 days a week, we will do a swim with fins. And we try to accumulate 4,000 to 5,000 yards of swimming in that week to prepare ourselves for the weekly 4,000-yard swim that you have to take for time at Buds. What's the depth of underwater knot tying? 15 feet. And best ways to get more comfortable in deeper water head pressure. You're gonna have to clear your ears because there's no head pressure if you know how to clear your ears. It's the Valsalva maneuver. So I want you to Google this term, Valsalva. Valsalva. There you go. Let's see that. So, in fact, I will Google it myself. Valsalva maneuver, how to do it, and when to use it. Look at that. WebMD even had something on this one. So it's a common thing. If you ever take a scuba diving class, I promise you will learn how to clear your ears using the Valsalva maneuver. And all it is you pinch your nose and you blow out your nose gently. Don't want to blow hard, and you'll feel your ears pop. And that is equalizing your ears to the pressure that's down there at the whatever depth you're at. If you're diving deep, you'll have to do it like every 15, 20 feet because you'll feel the pressure increasing. You'll have to equalize the pressure. When you're down at 15 feet or even 10 feet, you'll probably need to do it as well. Let's see if I can run a sub 28 4 mile every time. Is there any point benefiting to running more than 4 miles in a running session? That's a big debatable discussion. Um, it's up to you how you get your cardio. If you're running 4 miles and you want to run six, run six. Um, if you want to limit your mileage and you want to do it just so you don't hurt yourself by running too much, you can run your 4 miles, top it off with a bike, top that off with a swim. So you're basically 2/3 of your cardio that day is going to be non-impact cardio. So great question. A lot of people like doing 10 miles at long, slow distance, zone 2 pace. Hey, if that's what you like to do and that floats your boat, do it. But I personally have never really grown attached to long, slow distance runs. I find them, one, somewhat boring, but I also find them to be getting you too comfortable running too slowly. Now, I get it. Aerobic base, you got to work on your tempo runs and stuff like that. I mean, but I tell you, if you can run a 28 4 mile and it's not a gut check, that's when you know your aerobic base is fine. You don't need to be really any faster than that, other than if you're putting out for a mile and a half and you try to hit a 6 minute mile pace. But that's my opinion. There are differing opinions out there on how you can prepare for buds and run 50 miles a week. I personally don't think you need 50 miles a week, but you need to have fast 4 mile runs and have some overall leg durability. So, building up to 35, 40 miles a week and holding it there for, a few months, as long as you're not hurt, that is going to suffice. I think where people screw up is they get up to 50, they get hurt, and then they can't run for a month, and then they try to run another 40 or 50, and they just continually hurt themselves. Um, but there are some people that don't hurt themselves and do fine. So where are you on that scale? Let's see. I am having a great day. Next week, I'm finishing 12 weeks to buds. Nice. I don't know what I should start next. I was thinking about phase one and make my way through 4 or SFPT. You're talking about the seasonal tactical fitness periodization? Either one of those are fine. 12 weeks to buds is all calisthenics and cardio. I would probably, after that 12 weeks, if you got another 12 weeks in you, maybe go with phase one or phase two, three. And then mix in, though, you know what? I like the phase one option because there is a weightlifting section in there those last 4 weeks. So you can use that as almost like a transition into a fall or winter lift cycle, which I think you need just to break up the monotony of running a lot and doing a lot of high rep stuff. Just help you rebuild the joints, decrease the mileage a little bit, work on some speed. So I think you're fine. 12 weeks of buds, followed by another 12 to 16 weeks of phase one. And then from there, maybe hit a lift cycle. But it kind of depends on what you did before the 12 weeks to buds. Were you still doing cals and cardio? Because if you came out of a lift cycle, did 12 weeks to buds, and now doing phase one, that's good. If you've done like 12 weeks to buds a couple of times and been on calisthenics and cardio for a year, I'd probably go into the fall winter lift cycle after this if that was you. So just think of yourself, cycle it through and see where your strengths and weaknesses are. So what I want you to do is email me after you finish this 12 weeks to buds and send me your PST scores. And then from there we can determine what you need to do. So instead of just guessing and saying, yeah, you should try that, let's assess so we're not guessing. All right. No more questions? You guys have some good questions today. Oh, I got one down here at the bottom now. Okay. So, damn, what did I send you guys that previous Valsalva maneuver? Let me read that because I think they used it for something else. Take a big breath, hold it, close your whip pipe at the throat. Oh yeah, so they didn't really explain it very well. So I just saw it had to do with like heart disease or something. I was like, yeah, that's not what I'm looking for. So it's the same thing. It's just not used for that purpose. I'm going to use it for scuba. Okay, so here you go. 6 methods to equalize your ears. Oh, I like this one. This is a little more applicable to you guys. I just saw the WebMD thing there. So check out this Valsalva maneuver scuba dive. All I did was go to Google Valsalva maneuver scuba dive, and um, yeah, there you go. So check that out. That's going to clear your ears for you. Let's see. Ruck Camp says, I can't run 2 kilometers straight, but I can easily take a 30-kilogram pack. That's pretty heavy. Ruck 10K in under 2 hours. Okay, that's not bad. How the heck do you get good at running trying to pass a beep test? Yeah, the beep test is kind of a next level energy system. So you can ruck it nice and easy, um, which is kind of like a lower heart rate energy system that you're using. You need to practice some jogs, short jogs, just whatever your beep test distance is, that's fine. Just jog it, take a second to breathe a couple of times, jog it back, and just go as long as you can like that and build up. That beep test is a good challenge. I think our Air Force is now starting to use that one. And if you do it enough, I mean, you're basically running a mile and a half, but you're only doing it in 25-yard sets. And the way it works is your rest periods decrease every set. So you run down and back, your rest period is 10 seconds. You run down and back, it's set 9 seconds. It just gets smaller and smaller to where it's unsustainable and you can't make the time. So My advice is practice that, and find some soft ground, maybe a football field or turf field or something, and just run back and forth. And I think your knees will appreciate not doing it on pavement for sure. But yeah, that's just one of those things you gotta practice. So, and you know what? And also do squats and lunges, because you need two things. You need lungs and legs to be working. You need your legs to be doing more calisthenics exercises for muscle stamina versus strength at this point, and you need your lungs to be working so you can get a high heart rate and be able to recover and still move those legs. So it's a good combination. Something I like to do is I call it the squat pyramid, where you set up a distance. Let's say whatever your beep test distance is, 25 meters. You do one squat, run to the other side, do two squats, run back, three squats, four squats. And your squats are your rest. So you get a little more rest, going up, but then you get less rest coming back down. So it's kind of fun. You go up to 10, or you can go up even higher and go up to 20, back down. That's a lot of squats. Basically, if you want to know how many squats you're doing, is just square the top number of your pyramid. So if you go 1 to 10, back down to 1, that's 100. If you go 1 to 20, back down to 10, that's 200 or 400. Um, a good middle ground is 15. So if you go 1 to 15 back down, that's 225 squats. That's doable. It's kind of Murph level, and it's going to work on your pace too. So my advice on leg days, 2, maybe 3 days a week, hit that little squat pyramid and build up. Maybe start off at 10, build up, go to 20 or 15, then to 20. But if you go to 20, you don't need to come back down. Just go straight up to 20. If you go to 15, try to come back down, because that's going to be over 200 squats in a workout. That'll be fun. I like doing that. In fact, I use a 1 to 10 and stop at 10 as a leg day warm up every leg day. It's what I did this morning. How's the reputation of Air Force Special Warfare among SEALs? I love them. I think those guys are great. Um, you know, they're good, especially PJs, CCTs. Those guys are next level. Um, they're great corpsmen. They're great medics. Great JTACs. CTTs can control the air. Like a air traffic controller. So they are very good. Um, very squared away. I have never really worked with the other uh, parts of like TACP or special reconnaissance. They didn't have that when I was in, um, but I know several because I've trained several, and they're sharp people and are doing great things. So Matthew agrees with me. Non-impact cardio is a game changer. I think so. I mean, you still got to run, but you can definitely supplement your cardio and still be get good at running by running less and doing harder bikes, harder stair steppers, high elevation ellipticals, swimming. Obviously, you got to swim, so half your cardio should at least be swimming. And if you want to add in some extra, you can add in the hard bikes or rowing even. What's the worst pain you suffered in buds? You know what? Third phase, I hurt my knee and I got rolled out of my class. I was about 6 weeks from graduation, and I will say I was a little pissed that I got injured. It was no fault of anybody's. I just twisted funny, fireman carrying a guy, and tweaked my knee to a point where I got rolled for 2 classes. But I had a lot of time to heal, and I actually came back faster. I dropped like a minute and a half off my 4 mile time to run. So I took full advantage of that time. came back stronger, was a class leader. Um, yeah, and it was really good. It was good for me, and it was meant to happen. And I got two classes of buds. I had the class of buds that I went through Hell Week and die phase with, and then I had the class of buds that I went through third phase with and graduated with. So, my group of buds student friends are bigger. So it's in the end, it wasn't that big a deal. How long far would you suggest swimming in open water for a buds candidate? How frequently? We swim on leg days. So, how frequently do you do leg days? We typically do leg days 2 days a week, but on occasion, maybe every second or third week, we will do a third leg day, but it may be more of a spec ops triathlon than a leg day. We'll do a ruck, we'll do a swim with fins, and then we'll do a run workout. So you're getting a third swim with fins in there. And we typically shoot for, if we're doing 3 days a week of swimming, we're only swimming about 2,000 meters a day with fins. Because at the end of that week, it's going to be 6,000 meters with fins. There's no need to swim a whole lot more than that with fins every week. We usually stop it at 4, sometimes 5,000 meters in a week, not one shot, but spread throughout two. And then there'll be a week where we'll do a 3,000 and we'll do a 4,000, but the other one will be a smaller one just to balance it out. But we tend to cap it at about 5,000 a week at a max. And the reason why is when you're doing a lot of running, let's say you're running 30 or 40 miles a week and you're doing that, there has been uh, injuries that occur in the overuse realm, such as IT band flare ups. And if you start getting an IT band flare up, it hurts to run, hurts to walk downstairs, it hurts to swim with fins. So you just got to lay off the fins for a little while. So we try to avoid um, those type of overuse injuries that stop us from running, or at least slow us down from running and hurt when you swim with fins. So we tend to limit that. I find that if you're swimming every day with fins, you're probably and running every day, you're probably going to get an IT band flare up real quick. Just I've seen it. It happens. So that's why I program it in there smartly versus, I mix it in with everything else and everything makes sense. What are different disadvantages of splitting a workout and doing lifting calisthenics in one and then cardio in the other? Nothing. I don't see any disadvantages in it. In fact, I think there's some good advantages to it. I would say the only disadvantage it could be is if you're of the age of where you're preparing for fitness tests that involve calisthenics and lifting and cardio on the back end, then it can become an issue to where you're not really training the way the test is going to feel. So you do all your cows and cardio first, or do all your cows and lifting first, and then you run or swim last, depending on what fitness test you're doing. That's where it becomes a disadvantage. I think a lot of people will have a better run time because they're not tired from all the cows and lifting, and if they run it in a second session, which there's nothing wrong with that, you can do it sometimes. But if you're really training for that fitness test, you want to put it all in the order of that fitness test if you can. So, like if you're an Air Force guy preparing for the IFT, right, you're going to want to do pull-ups, sit-ups, push-ups, mile and a half run, then a swim. If you're training for the Navy PST, which I think I have yeah, this one is a little bit PST. I don't know if I have a phase one here. So anyway, the phase one PST workout is 500-yard swim, push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, mile and a half run. So I personally, if you're really focused on crushing a PST, order of your workouts matter. Also, doing it all in one session matters. Otherwise, if you're just trying to burn calories at the end of the day, break it up throughout the day. Like for instance, for me, I didn't swim this morning and I lifted this morning, did about 3 miles of running. I'm going to go over this afternoon, swim, and then do a little perimeter run around the Naval Academy and maybe even pick up a few kettlebells and throw those around. So I'm getting a second workout in altogether, mainly cardio as I mainly lifted this morning. A little bit of cardio this morning. All right, let's see. Out of curiosity, do you still enjoy the gun range? Yeah, I do. When I go, I'll be honest with you. Um I don't go often as I should. I probably could go longer, but I also, can shoot in a friend's backyard as well. So I should take more, greater advantage of that, but I don't. But I love it. Yeah, it's there's some weapons that feel like they're a piece of my hand. I've shot them so much that it's always nice to go back to. Even if I hadn't shot in a year, it still feels like a part of my hand. So I'm not as good. It is definitely a perishable skill, but it's just not something that I coach or that I really get into. I kind of stay in my lane with the fitness world and let the guys that want to do the tactic stuff, they do the tactic stuff. So there you go. What did the healing time you were rolled consist of? Yeah, I was rolled for like 8 weeks and I was in a leg brace where I couldn't bend my knee for three and a half, four. So I couldn't run, do anything with that thing on. So I basically just did upper body workouts for the first month. And then the second month, I was, I started running, I started biking. You remember how I said, biking is the savior to some running if you're kind of banged up. And biking helped me. That's where I learned how to do pyramids. Um, Tabatas didn't exist yet, but we did some, like a 30-second on, 30-second off, like sprint easy, which was a form of that type of interval, just a little bit longer rests, a little bit longer sprint, which was hard. And then I started running and I started running intervals. And next thing I know, I was up to 4 miles and 26:30. And yeah, was well under the minimum standard. When you were open water swimming, do you swim along the shore or to a point that's far off from the shore? I would recommend swimming along the shore. That's what we do here in Maryland. And when we're at Buds, that's what you do as well. You swim basically 100 yards out and you just swim a mile that way and a mile back. So just beyond the breakers. Where we swim, it is literally so shallow for like the first 100 yards that we get out there like 50, 60 yards off the shore. And if anybody panics, I just remind them to stand up because it is that shallow. And I usually kick the bottom a couple of times if I'm uh, if I'm really kicking big and I'm really shallow. But yeah, try if you're going to do open water. My advice is stay shallow and just stay next to the shore. That's going to be safer for you, but it's also going to be more accurate training for what you're trying to do. How did you deal with joint muscle pain in first phase? It's crazy how many calisthenics you do in Buds. Um, you know what? I just stretched and did a lot of water work. So I was always practicing treading on the weekends. So um I think that was pretty therapeutic. So do some treading for like half an hour and then stretch for half an hour. Next thing I know, I'm kind of my joint and muscle pain were okay. um And then, if you could, even like for 5 or 10 minutes at the end of a day, try to stretch. And now you have foam rollers, you got car buffers and massage guns. You can go nuts and work out some of that joint muscle pain real quickly nowadays. So that's what I would do. And just make it a habit. That's the biggest thing. Just make it a habit. You skip it and you'll regret it. Running your phase 2, 3 right now, was thinking of incorporating chest carry work with a sandbag in by just chest carrying the weight on the rucks. Any thoughts of that? Yeah, you could do that. Um, I mean, we do chest carry lunges in that program. So, you know, in fact, we do a workout called the Sand Baby Devil Murph in there. And it's just a classic log PT preparation. Um, but yeah, if you want to do that, I mean, I don't really think it's necessary to do it on the rucks, but definitely shoulder carry squats, chest carry lunges, chest carry sit ups, chest carry, overhead presses with the sandbag. All of those are really simulating log PT. Um, and I would definitely get good at chest carry lunges for sure, and chest carry walks. But I will say this, a chest carry walk with a ruck on is actually easier because you balance it out with that backpack and the front pack of the chest carry. If you want to make it harder, take off the ruck, chest carry your ruck or something like this, and you'll see what I'm talking about, because that imbalance is going to force your back to flex more. Whereas when you have 40 pounds on your back and 40 pounds on your front, everything's nice and balanced. So consider that. I don't think it's necessary to run around with 80 pounds, but 40 pounds is definitely something you need to get good at carrying. Is the PST for silk contract done in boots? No. If so, is there certain pair that you would recommend? The pairs I recommend is what they issue at Buds is the Nike Combat Gen 2. I think they're the SFBs, not I think. Yeah, Nike Combat Gen 2. Let me see. Nike Combat Generation 2 boots. Yeah, they're called the SFBs. Whole lot of places you can get them. Looks like US Patriot sells them for 165. Nike sells them. I don't see them on Amazon. Might be able to find some on eBay. Fact, let's see. I'm curious. eBay and Nike Combat Gen 2s. So instead of 165, you can have them for 75. Look a little bit used, but hey, 110, brand new. 165, not worth it, because that's where you can buy them brand new. Yeah, you get some deals. Yeah, I'm seeing Nike Combat Gen 2s. I got a page worth of options here, and I'm just scrolling down. Holy crap. And that was 60 different pairs. So yeah, there you go. Might find a better deal on eBay. Oh, and you asked another question. Also, the CSS vids, you've gotten my times from 13:20 to 9:15 in just a month. Nice. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, those between the videos and practicing that 50-50 swim workout, highly recommended. In fact, tomorrow, if you want to send me some videos, I'll critique them. Maybe I'll critique them on the show, and we'll discuss live what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. A lot of people DM me those or email me, stu@stewsmith.com. All right, so let's ask a question about underwater swimming. For first phase 50-meter underwater swim at Buds, is the pool actually 25 meters or 25 yards? Like most pools, you'll be training in before getting there. It's 25 meters. You know, it's not that big a deal. The difference between 25 meters and 25 yards is like 2 yards. So if you can do 25 yards, I promise you, you can do 25 meters. Yeah. Yeah. 25, put it this way, 50 meters is 54 yards. So it's not that big a deal. So, but the big deal is don't practice this test on your own. What I would recommend is get good at 25 yards and be able to do 25 yards in 4 strokes. That's telling me that your stroke is really efficient. If you're just cranking out strokes, just muscling through it, you're going to be really tired. If you can do 25 yards and not even be winded, like you're holding your breath walking for 25 yards, that's when you know your underwater swims are efficient. Have I ever heard of shamrock drills? Nah, never done them. Uh, can't run right now because of shin splints. That happens every spring. I always get somebody with shin splints. However, I can ruck without pain. Should I do that? I don't see why not. I mean, I would personally probably do more biking and swimming than rucking, but if you're not feeling pain, I don't see an issue with it. Stu, I was feeling cocky after finishing the winter cycle. Then you hit me with death by push ups, death by pull up combo to start the spring cycle. Yes, that is a fun one. We did that one back to back last week. And it's not easy. It makes you dig deep a little bit on that one. I find it to be a lot more mental than physical, to be honest with you. It's a good challenge. This week I have one instead of death by pull-ups with burpees in between. So here's how death by pull-ups work. You start doing burpees, you got to do burpees for 10 minutes. But every minute you get to take a break and do 5 pull-ups. So you get like a 15-second break. So basically you're doing 45-second burpees, 15-second pull-ups for 10 minutes. Get 50 pull-ups. We typically get about 100 burpees in that time because you're getting about 10 burpees in those 45 seconds. And it's a good little, tough little 10 minutes. But this week, I took out the burpees and replaced it with flutter kicks. So you're on your back doing 45 seconds worth of flutter kicks. Every minute on the minute, crank out 5 pull-ups. So I just changed death by pull-ups from burpees to flutter kicks. Probably going to be a lot easier cardiovascularly on you, as flutter kicks are kind of a rest exercise, but it's going to be a little harder on your hip flexors. So let's see. What are fins you recommend for swimming? Can you put a link in it? Yeah, this is one of those things that's easily Googleable. But you're going to swim with rocket fins or jet fins at buds. So the rocket fins are, you just put in, just Google rocket fins, right? And Google jet fins. You'll find them. I don't need to put a link in there for you. Now, the other kind I also like are either sporty, like slip on fins that I wear. Um, that if Put it this way, if you've never swum with big scuba fins like the rocket fins, you don't want to just jump into big scuba fins and start swimming because your ankles are going to die. So you're going to want to start off with a slip-on fin, maybe a tire, TYRE, or sporty with an I, SPORTI. Finis is another good slip-on fin, FINIS. I would search those is what I would look for. But I've written articles on the type of fins you need. And in fact, if you do Stu Smith, buds, swimming, fins, let's see what pops up. Swimming with fins. What kind of fins do you need? Literally, How and what kind of fins for Spec Ops prep? Literally already written. So, boom. There you go. Let me see. Look, I missed something. Winter lift cycle took me from 60 push-ups to 92, 12 to 21. Isn't that crazy? You know how the winter lift cycle improved calisthenics, which originally, because of the block periodization model I think we implemented, it is doing what you're seeing. Now, if you needed some strength, that strength cycle is obviously going to help you. But because we do 3 weeks of lifting, 1 week of cows and cardio, 3 weeks of lifting, 1 week of cows and cardio, what people are finding is that not only are they maintaining their cows and cardio while they're getting stronger, some are actually improving their cows and cardio because they needed to get stronger in order to add another level of muscle stamina on that. So it's a good combination for that. That's awesome. I would say that is typical. When you do double arm pulls for underwaters or kicking off the wall, do you go max strength and effort for every pull and kick? Well, you don't pull easy. I wouldn't say it's like max, and blow out a shoulder or something, but you definitely want to grab water properly. Where people screw up is they grab water like this, like they're doing a jumping jack. And what you want to do is you want to grab water like this, bend that elbow down, and now you're grabbing water with your forearms and hands, pushing straight down versus this omnidirectional shoulder pull like you're doing a jumping jack. So grab water, pull down. So you need to look up the term breaststroke pullout. That is a great thing to um, try to watch because those guys can really swim, and they're doing breaststroke pullouts every time they kick off the wall, and they could get halfway across the pool if it was allowed competitively. What was your why to help you get through SEAL training? Um, I don't know. I think throughout my life, um, there were a few things that I quit, and when I was younger, like quit playing baseball in high school, but I had other plans, but I felt like I quit on my friends, um, and that was hard because I grew up with these guys from playing baseball 8 years old and quit playing when I was a junior in high school. And I started lifting. I did track. Played football. Football was more what I liked versus baseball at that time. I still love baseball. Probably go to 50 baseball games a year just to kind of chill out and have fun. Um, but I just didn't want to ever feel that way again. And so whatever I did, whether it was going to the academy and almost failing out physically, academically, you know, just being borderline passing on a few things. I also realized that that was no way to go in life, and that I no longer wanted to just barely survive on the minimum standards. I wanted to achieve and exceed the standard. Um, and I wanted to do a job where people also thought that way, and everybody in that training thought that way. And it was kind of like a like-minded brotherhood of people who were just hard charging, self-motivated, disciplined people, and that was the community I wanted to be a part of. And Buds was just the gateway into that community. It was just a thing you had to pass. There was no thought of, do I want to do this or do I want to quit? It was not even a thought in my mind. It was, how well am I going to do at this training? Um, and yeah, I mean, I suffered just like everybody else in that training, but there was no, there was nothing that was going to stop me other than my body failing me. And I think, like when somebody asked earlier, what was my biggest pain going through Buds? my body failing me in third phase you know, was one of them that kind of sucked. But it was for a reason, and it came out for better. Tom says, "Are you old enough to remember when burpees were called squat thrusts?" Oh yeah, absolutely. I remember squat thrusts, but they were squat thrusts without the push up. I think burpees. Um, and who created burpee? His last name's actually Burpee, and it was a old school military fitness test that the military called squat thrusts, but they were also called burpees in civilian world. So I think burpee added the push up to it. What's my opinion of 17, 18-year-olds going to buds? I don't think they should. I think there should be an age limit, in my opinion, and that should be 20 years old. But, you know, there's always 17, 18-year-olds that make it through. But if you look at day one of buds and you look at graduation day of buds, look at how many 17, 18-year-olds started, look how many 17, 18-year-olds finished. The numbers are shocking. Literally over 100 in your class are teenagers. Whenever you get to graduation day, you might have 5. That's a big teenage class. I think we had 2, maybe 3. I think we had 3 18-year-olds finish. But I remember the first day of buds when it started, I'm like, "Damn, all these guys are just fresh out of high school." And then by Hell Week, we lost 60 of them. So I do not recommend it. But that is me saying it purely out of statistics and out of my own experiences from my own class and seeing other classes. Um, there are a few 18-year-olders that are unicorns that can make it through, and God bless them. I always tell people, like, say, look, I don't recommend you going because you're 18 years old, but prove me wrong. And that's how I leave it. And I've only had one 19-year-old kid make it through thinking, whenever I told him that exact same quote, and probably statistics wise, maybe another dozen that didn't make it, that thought they were ready. And I said, stick around here, keep training for another year, go take an EMT course, go take a scuba course, get away from home and, live on your own for, you know, a little bit. So, all right. Wow. I've been at this thing for an hour already. That flew by. What's the oldest SEAL you've seen graduate? One of my good friends is 38-year-old SEAL graduated. So, and he did 20 years in the Navy. So he got after it. So when I always hear about this question too, and then I talk about this 38-year-old who graduated, don't be in a hurry to go to buds just because you can. Let's go when you're ready. That's why I tell people all the time. I can't tell you how many people who email me into the delayed entry program who say, "Hey, I joined delayed entry program. I graduate high school in 4 months and I ship in June. But I can't pass the PST. You got any tips?" I said, "Yeah. Should have first listened to my number one rule was don't join until you're ready." Right? I don't know why people do that. It's just a recipe for failure. But you know who wins? The Navy, because they're going to find a spot for you that they need to fill. And where's that going to be? Probably on a ship, chip and paint, cleaning shitters. Unless you do well enough that you might be able to get into SWIC or EOD. But that's going to depend on your performance. Really nothing else. And their availability, as long as they have people to do it. So just go when you're ready. And what I mean ready is thoroughly assessed crushing a PST. Don't even talk to a recruiter till you're crushing a PST. That's my number one rule. And then after that, you might have enough time to prepare to get through buds by swimming with fins and running in boots and rucking and doing log PT simulation workouts, because it's more than just a PST that you're trying to pass to get accepted into the training. You also got to prepare to get through the training. All right. I got stuff to do, folks. I will be back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. and I will get to your questions next. Alex, I see you popped one up. Just email me that question and I will email you the answer back. But if I missed your question, you can email me, stu@stewsmith.com. Also, for sticking around this long, I appreciate it. You guys go to stewsmithfitness.com. Whatever you want to get over there, live 15 saves you 15% on the books and ebooks. I appreciate your time, and I will chat with you guys later. Have a good one.